many have you got available? Because we know you've got a long list.
We got enough. Yeah, we've got a good volume of players that are available, and we've got some good opportunity for players to continue to develop and learn in the last couple of games of the year at AFL level, but also at SANFL level. We've got some challenges. We've got some opportunities there as well for continued development.
What did last week's performance do, I guess, from the mindset, given that you showed, I guess, character and resolve?
I think it gives you, more than anything, it gives you a bit more pride, as in the way you keep at things and you keep sticking to it. I said a few weeks back we wanted to continue to play like a Port Adelaide footy team, and we'd had a couple of games that weren't near that level, and that can be real when you get to this stage of the season for some clubs who are out of the race, and for our boys to respond and bounce back last week and stick together, I thought was some real credit to the boys and the way they went about it. So it does give you a bit more pride in the performance, and that's what we look. Honestly, we don't have many things to play for other than some development and some improvement in young players. That's what we're looking for. So when your more senior players stand up and play the way they do, it gives you a great chance.
Talk about what you're playing for. Like last week, Fremantle, you get to sell it as spoiling a final 18. What do you do with Carlton?
Again, it's back to the development of players and the development and the continued improvement of people and the team. I've said a few times, it's really important to try and finish your season strong when you've had a disappointing season, because it helps you build momentum into the next pre-season, off-season, and for players I think that's really important, and for us as a footy club it's always been important to play every game like there's a reason to improve.
Fan for your fans too.
Yeah, well I think so.
The young kids to see them.
Yeah, well I think that's really important for the members and the people out there watching Port Adelaide, and think about what's it look like. I said last week after the game, there's some optimism around Port Adelaide when you consider the challenges that have been this year and the improvements of people this year. And I think there's been Georgiades has had an outstanding season. We got Berry and Whitlock playing. We had Lord down back last week in a different role. So we've been able to see some improvements. Liddy's out there playing in his first season. Loren showed some further improvement. So there's plenty of optimism, but we also understand that there's quite a bit missing. So when you think about it all coming together for members and fans of the footy club, they should be looking at going, okay, this has been a challenging year, it's been a tough year, it's been a disappointing year, but there's some upside coming.
Speaking of those young guys, is Jack Whitlock definitely got to replace the coaches up front and make sure that he tries and gets first goal?
He was in there last week, so he was in there with Luco, so it gives him a chance. So we've got some things to think through after today's training to make sure we come up with the right side to take on Carlton over in Melbourne, because their form's also been on the up a little bit, and we look forward to the challenge. But who we take at the moment, we'll wait until we get through training, and even then we still don't know with the way things have gone in the last couple of weeks with some illness, so we'll work our way through it.
Is there more to gain by keeping Ollie Lord in defence, so you can get some more sort of insight for what next year could be like for you?
Yeah, Rich, there's some challenges with that, with the opposition you play against, the size of the opposition. Last week it was really easy. Fremantle had 4 talls, so we were needy. This week Carlton may only have 2 talls. That might be the challenge for us. So we've just got to look at that. Ollie's development's really important wherever that is, and I think any game of AFL football he gets to play has been a real positive step for us as a foot club.
Fans would have loved that performance on Saturday night. You can feel the energy in the stadium. Would you be surprised if they were like, where has that been a little bit?
Oh no, I don't think I'd be surprised. I think it's a fair question when you support your footy club. I think you go, well, all we want to do is see great energy and great effort, and we had a couple of weeks where that disappeared, and it was a real struggle for us. We went through plenty of things that were challenging us off field before we got on the field, and that was enough to lose that energy a little bit. And we did play. I think we did play Hawthorn, Adelaide, Geelong, Fremantle. So we played probably the top 4. So there's games like that have been in the back end of the season for clubs. Doesn't mean I'm happy with them. I'm disappointed that we perform like that, but I somewhat understand a little bit.
It's good putting his finger on outside of those injuries. What else might have led to this?
Oh, look, there was some talent come back into the team that helped, and I think that outside of injuries, but with Lukosius and Rioli coming back into the team certainly did help us a little bit to be able to score. Being able to play Connor around the ball certainly helped us a little bit too. But I think as much as Matt, as I said, it's not surprising to me, someone who's been around for a long time, to see a little drop off at a point in the season where it looked like it clearly was over from a performance point of view for the end of the season. But then you tend to get that little uptick, I reckon, that all right, what are we playing for now and what are we trying to achieve? And I think that's where we got that lift from last week. We had some real clarity on, hey, we're going to stick at it together, we're going to play our way as best we possibly can. I used a term with the boys, we're going to crash the car we built. you know, and that's what we played and wanted to play like that. So that's what you should expect from us in the last couple of weeks. Hopefully we can perform near that level.
You touch on the illness that's gone around in all your years. Can you remember an illness that's gone this long? It feels like every player has gone down with it at some point.
I'm sure there has been, but it just, when you're in the moment, it feels like this year's the worst. But every year, probably when it goes against you, you can find a reason to look for the worst. But you know, it's part of winter. They're around.
Was correspondence with Mossy this week?
No, I haven't had any correspondence with Michael. We don't talk until after the game, if that was normal practice for us. So we're both out there trying to get our teams, you know, for a couple of reasons, look for a couple of wins at the back end of the year, and you know, we both get an opportunity this week to fight really hard for that win.
We spoke last week about crowds and you wanting a good crowd for your last two games at home. It was only 30,000 last week. You were a bit disappointed with the
I thought it
turnout.
was a good crowd. I was really pleased with the crowd. I don't know. I'm sure the club would have been, you know, wanting a few more if that was possible. But I thought the crowd was a really good crowd, considering, you know, all things being equal. We're playing against another good side. We're playing at home, night game. There's a few things that would make that crowd, and against another interstate team. You know, you don't necessarily get massive crowds. I think if you look back when we've been around the mark at the top of the ladder, that crowd number is somewhat similar to what we would have had against Fremantle, I would have thought. Yes, Jamie?
Willie was back, mate. How did you rate his game, and do you think he was happy being back out there?
Yeah, definitely happy, absolutely happy being back out there, and you know, again, well, a bit fitter, you know, all the things that he needed to be. He certainly was better, scored a couple of goals for us. I mean, I don't know, he's probably kicked 27, 28 goals for the season and missed some games of footy. He's had a pretty positive goal scoring year for us, which is what he's in our team to do, and we look forward to him being able to do that again this week.
Do you think he's keen to keep going next year?
100%, he's keen to keep going next year. I think he's got another contract to go next year, so it would be very, very unusual if he wasn't keen to play next year. If you're referencing back to some of these challenges away from performance, I think I think Willie's had to deal with them for a long period of time. I don't think they would stop him from playing football next year.
Can you use your line crashing a car? What's it told you about the spare parts you need?
There's a few. Yeah, there's a few. Well, you need some spare parts for a start. We haven't had many of them available for us. So the reality is, it just means that, you know, the way we like to play is pretty clear. We just need to embrace that way and take the challenges that come with it. Because some of the times that you go away from that, the opposition whack you and they hit the scoreboard, and that can tighten you up a bit too much. We don't want to tighten up in the last couple of games.
Just told you a bit about the depth that's needed here, or
No.
the debate outside is that
Well,
more depth.
no, it's not. I mean, every club, you know, I see Brisbane this week, you know, quite a lot of injuries, and they get close. Even the good teams, if you get injuries, you get in trouble. You know, look at Essendon through the seasons. It's clubs that are around our mark. Carlton, that we come up against this week, have had their challenges. So I just think it says to you, you know, healthy list for a large part of the season is really important to any football team, and our list is more than okay. It's just a matter of being healthy.
Just back on, sorry, just
Jack, the coach, has he mindset-wise given?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good. He's resilient enough to go, you know, it's been a challenging year. His first year back at Port, it hasn't been exactly the way he would have liked it to go on, but there's some upside. And when he has played, I think in 3 games that he's been almost fit, we feel like we're a much better team. So that's the positive for Jack, and he knows that, and he understands this year's been a challenge. What I do know is he'll attack this off-season, and we look forward to what that will be next year.
Clearly you wouldn't have played him if you didn't think he was right.
No, that's right.
Right to play, but can you just talk us through?
Yeah, spoke to Jack himself only yesterday, and he said, I never felt it once until the incident. So you get 3/4 time and you're not feeling it. Sounds like a pretty sound decision. Obviously, because it goes, and basically it's not too big a deal, but it's going to rule him out for the rest of the year. But we didn't take an unnecessary risk based on where our season was at or anything like that. We didn't take any type of risk other than, you know, Jack felt like he was right to play. Medically, we felt like he was right to play. He played for 3/4 without any incident. And unfortunately, he's had one of them years where something's going to get him.
back on Willie briefly. You obviously spoken about the struggles he's had this year. It might not be your wheelhouse moving forward, but how does the club support him in the off-season when he's not around week to week?
Our club supports him incredibly well all the time, you know, and we don't lose touch with our players in the off-season. There's always a continued check-in on people and how they're going and what they're doing. And you know, Willie's clearly goes home most of the time into Darwin. When he's home, he's with his family. He's feeling pretty good about things like that. But the club will always support every one of our players, not just Willie.
Ross was saying that Ross Lyon is a bit concerned that Messiah hasn't signed. Was that a positive from Port Adelaide?
From my point of view, I get to bail out on this question. I don't know. You know, history would tell you that long term, you know, late in the season, those decisions do seem to go a certain way, but I'm not going to make any prediction on any of that because I have no information and I can't help you in any way to predict the outcome of that. I do know that the young man that everyone's talking about, I can understand why everyone's talking about him.
Would you like to have coached him?
Hypothetical question I'm not going to answer.
The other one that's mentioned
Last
before is
couple
McCreary. Did he tour the club?
Who?
McCreary, Collingwood. Did he tour the club?
Jason, I did notice, is here today. He's probably the person to ask about things like that. I've not seen Bo at the footy club. If he has been here, I might not recognise him, but I think he's trying to get over a hamstring to get back and ready to play football for Collingwood.
Would you be surprised if Chris CD wasn't in next year if you linked to Carlton?
Yeah, I would be. I would be surprised. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be. You know, it won't come as a surprise, but everyone gets linked everywhere, don't they, this time of year? When there's an opportunity, me, Chris, players, we all get linked at different times. What I do know about footy, that about 1% come true.